John Brennan had planned his crime as grimly and relentlessly and as coolly as ever he had concocted a deal on the stock exchange. There was no thought in his mind of mercy for his unconscious victim. His hatred had carried him far. The next morning after breakfast, he said to his wife, "I intend to take a walk in the mountains. Do you wish to come with me?" "Yes," she answered briefly. "Very well, then," he said. "I shall be ready at 9 o'clock." "I shall be ready at 9 o'clock," she repeated after him. At that hour they left the hotel together, to which he was shortly to return alone. They spoke no word to each other on their way to the hanging outlook. The path was practically level, skirting the mountains, for the hanging outlook was not much higher above the sea than the hotel. John had formed no fixed plan for his procedure when the place was reached. He resolved to be guided by circumstances. Now and then, a strange fear arose in his mind that she might cling to him and possibly drag him over the precipice with her. He found himself wondering whether she had any premonition of her fate, and one of his reasons for not speaking was the fear that a tremor in his voice might possibly arouse her suspicions. He resolved that his action should be sharp and sudden, that she might have no chance either to help herself or to drag him with her. Of her screams in that desolate region he had no fear. No one could reach the spot except from the hotel, and no one that morning had left the house, even for an expedition to the glacier, one of the easiest and most popular trips from the place. Curiously enough, when they came within sight of the hanging outlook, Mrs. Brennan stopped and shuddered. John looked at her through the narrow slits of his veiled eyes and wondered again if she had any suspicion. No one can tell, when two people walk closely together, what unconscious communication one mind may have with another. "What is the matter?" he asked gruffly. "Are you tired?" "John," she cried, with a gasp in her voice, calling him by his Christian name for the first time in years, "don't you think that if you had been kinder to me at first, things might have been different?" "It seems to me," he answered, not looking at her, "that it is rather late in the day for discussing that question." "I have much to regret," she said quaveringly. "Have you nothing?" "No," he answered. "Very well," replied his wife, with the usual hardness returning to her voice. "I was merely giving you a chance. Remember that." Her husband looked at her suspiciously. "What do you mean?" he asked. "Giving me a chance? I want no chance nor anything else from you. A man accepts nothing from one he hates. My feeling towards you is, I imagine, no secret to you. We are tied together, and you have done your best to make the bondage insupportable." "Yes," she answered, with her eyes on the ground. "We are tied together! We are tied together!" She repeated these words under her breath as they walked the few remaining steps to the outlook. Brennan sat down upon the crumbling wall. The woman dropped her alpenstock on the rock and walked nervously to and fro, clasping and unclasping her hands. Her husband caught his breath as the terrible moment drew near. "Why do you walk about like a wild animal?" he cried. "Come here and sit down beside me and be still." She faced him with a look he had never before seen in her eyes, a look of insanity and of hatred. "I walk like a wild animal," she said, "because I am one. You spoke a moment ago of your hatred of me, but you are a man, and your hatred is nothing to mine. Bad as you are, much as you wish to break the bond which ties us together, there are still things which I know you would not stoop to. I know there is no thought of murder in your heart, but there is in mine. I will show you, John Brennan, how much I hate you." The man nervously clutched the stone beside him and gave a guilty start as she mentioned murder. "Yes," she continued, "I have told all my friends in England that I believed you intended to murder me in Switzerland." "Good God," he cried, "how could you say such a thing?" "I say it to show how much I hate you, how much I am prepared to give for revenge. I have warned the people at the hotel, and when we left 2 men followed us. The proprietor tried to persuade me not to accompany you. In a few moments those 2 men will come in sight of the outlook. Tell them, if you think they will believe you, that it was an accident." The mad woman tore from the front of her dress shreds of lace and scattered them around. John started up to his feet, crying, "What are you about?" But before he could move toward her, she precipitated herself over the wall and went shrieking and whirling down the awful abyss. The next moment 2 men came hurriedly round the edge of the rock, and found the man standing alone. Even in his bewilderment, he realized that if he told the truth, he would not be believed.